Okay. So what we'll be discussing today is what is the purpose and the goal of the peer tutor program. And let me back up. I probably didn't introduce myself formally. Again, my name is Terry Vamvalis. I work for the CDL Office of Academic Support. I oversee the peer tutor program, which has many, I guess, branches to it, and you'll see today what I mean. Okay, so again, the purpose and the goal of the peer tutor program. We'll review all the roles under this program and some of the differences. I'm only going to just touch base on a couple of those points. If you are seeking a tutor, I'll cover how you can do that and the time frame, and what if one is not available, what do you do at that point. What is expected of you, a tutee that has requested a tutor. What do I expect, of you and your participation with a tutor. If you're interested in becoming a tutor, I will go through also those requirements, what's involved and expected in that role. Work study tutors do have the opportunity to earn some additional money through the work study program, and I'll briefly cover that. And then, of course, any academic support resources and support beyond the tutoring program, I'll cover that. And then we'll do questions and answers at the end as well. But again, if you have any questions throughout, please feel free to raise your hand and I will answer them. Okay, so I'm not going to cover all these points, but the bottom line is that the goal and the purpose is to provide, one more type of support so you as a student can be successful. We all struggle with, a course or two or whatever, and it's always nice to know that I can go and say, hey, I need a tutor to help me. And it's nice to also have that encouragement from a peer. The tutors are peers, okay? They are or have been CDL students that have taken these online courses and have successfully completed those courses. So, the idea is to have a peer, someone who understands what you're going through and has taken that exact class. It's another option, obviously, other than the instructor. Instructors really can't tutor. They can help you, but at some point you need to go and find some additional help if it's beyond, the scope. I shouldn't say scope, but the amount of time, because the instructor's got 20, 25 students and can't tutor every single student, can help and guide. And of course, it also is, immediate assistance. In most cases, if I have a tutor, it's another perspective. And of course, for those that are interested in becoming a tutor, it's just another way to give back and also to even increase their, your knowledge and experience. If in fact maybe you're going to go on to be a teacher, this will be a great way to get your feet wet, especially in an online environment, and how it works. Okay, so that's in general what the goal is and the purpose of the program. And I believe, Anna, you just joined us. Anna, this is Terry Vamvalis. I want to just make sure you can hear me. And if you can select, how about the green check mark down below to indicate that you can hear me? Great, thank you. And Anna, I just mentioned earlier, if you have any questions as I'm going through the presentation, there's a hand icon with a green arrow. Just select that. That flags me that you have a question. Okay? Okay, so the first role under this program is a peer tutor. And this is a CDL student who has taken one or many CDL courses, and they have the opportunity to tutor up to 3 students. And it's at a distance. And there are many tools that can be used in order to do that. Their goal, their main goal, is to make sure that they're giving you ways to learn, to study, maybe a different perspective, and to reinforce some of the content and the concepts that are being covered in the course that you're needing assistance with. Course assistant is another role. This particular role is a higher level peer tutor that can provide a little bit more time. They're embedded into a specific course and they work with the instructor as well as all the students that are within that course. So instead of tutoring 1, 2, or 3 students, they could potentially, provide assistance to all of those students. Of course, that doesn't really happen. Usually it's a handful of students, but in this case, students know that there's somebody right there in that course that they can go or seek assistance from instead of the instructor. The purpose of this is to improve the overall quality and student participation. When you have a peer in there, that does help, because again, instead of the instructor saying, hey, you need to participate, the course assistant can kind of, nudge the students to participate a little bit more. And we're hoping that this also improves retention. We don't want to see students drop out, become frustrated, and leave the particular course and receive, a ZW or an incomplete or a no credit, which would be even worse. And of course, again, just like the peer tutor, they are there to clarify, reinforce the course concepts and the content, maybe review the assignments if there's some confusion with those students. And of course, any other responsibilities that have been discussed with the instructor, the course assistant will also do that. Okay, we have somebody else that just joined us, and I think that is, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly, Tahara. If you can hear me, if you could select the green check mark, and that will tell me that you can hear me through the mic. Great. Okay. As I indicated before, if you have any questions, there is a hand with a green arrow. Please feel free to just raise your hand. You're welcome. Raise your hand, and then I'll answer the question. And I'm taking questions throughout the presentation. Okay, the third role is an academic coach. This particular person, and I hate to say that it's an intervention. Go right ahead, Tahara. What you do, you're going to type in your question right there in the chat area, if I got to mention that. Okay, while Tara's typing that in, I'm just going to kind of still, talk about the academic coach. So the academic coach is not a tutor. It is a coach, as the title indicates. And I don't like the word to use intervention, and I got to think of another word. Okay. Sometimes when I go to print CDL assignments, it does not load on the page in a readable format. Okay, well, how about I address that another time? It might be that you have to actually copy and paste to a Word document, because most likely it's probably not going to format properly because of whatever printers or drivers that you have that you're using. So I would suggest just highlighting it, copying it, pasting it to a Word document, and then printing from there. How does that sound? Oops, I'm sorry, Angie, go right ahead. You had the same problem? My guess is because you solved it. How'd you solve it? Because I typically just cut and paste, quite honestly. It's easier. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Okay, Tahara? Yeah. Yeah, intervention. I don't want to call it intervention. In some cases, I guess, yeah, it depends on the printing. Correct. The academic coach actually works with 3 different types of students. Students that are new to the college, that are a little overwhelmed with coming online and learning, and have been out of college for quite some time, or in any type of school environment. So the coach is there who has been with the college for a couple of terms that can kind of help walk through some of the basics that the student really needs to understand. Okay, that's a new student. The other students are students that are in academic warning, that they did not so well the first term, and if they don't do well in the second term, they are in their basically at risk of becoming dismissed. And then of course, then we have reinstated students, students that were actually dismissed and now are coming and returning back to the college. We offer an academic coach because there might have been reasons why they were dismissed and why they were not doing well, and it could be simply, time management, organization, not knowing their way around the learning management tool that everybody is using, which is Angel. So that coach is there to basically touch base with that student on a weekly basis, provide some encouragement, support, and to make sure that the student is well aware of all the available resources that are there for them. Okay, so that's what the academic coach's role. Support group facilitator. Basically, I'm going to call this one, study group facilitator. Basically, it's somebody who is overseeing a larger group of students in a virtual environment, possibly Illuminate like we're using today, or they're touching base using Google Docs or possibly Skype, whatever it might be. But basically it's to mimic a study group where people get together, physically get together, and work through some problems that everybody is having. And we've done this with statistics. I'm hoping to have one set up from Intro to Accounting 1. So I kind of test it and see how it works. But bottom line is this student, again, might have been a peer tutor, might have been a course assistant, would prefer to actually go this route instead of the other. And I assign multiple students, maybe up to 6 or 8 students. The facilitator basically states that I'm available between this time and this time on these days. The students are given, let's say if they're using Illuminate, they're given a link, they sign in at that time, and then, you know, from that point on, the study session starts. And it could be just working through a particular problem, or reviewing a specific concept, or maybe even reviewing a chapter. And hopefully all those students are on the same page. Sometimes, you know, not necessarily. Okay, the differences. And I apologize, this is not a very good, I meant to blow this up. But the bottom line is the differences between the peer tutor, academic coach, and a course assistant. The course assistant is dealing with many more students, therefore actually there's more time involved. Whereas a peer tutor can, depending on their time, you know, work with 1 to 3 students. All of these roles, you need to be a B+ or higher, you need to be a good academic standing. The course assistant, main difference there is they have access to the course, whereas everybody does not, and they have instructor involvement, again, where that is not available to the other roles. And the academic coach, of course, does not manage study groups. Okay, so in a nutshell. And of course, the course assistant puts in more hours. Now, of course, if you're a peer tutor and you have multiple students, you're probably going to be putting in about the same amount as a course assistant. I know I went through that really quickly, but I bring this page up, and I'm actually going to bring it up. I'm going to bring you to the site because this is not a very good view. So just give me a moment. Any questions at the moment? Okay, so I just brought up the Peer Tutor webpage. And this is where you would go to find quite a bit of the information that I'm covering today. And you also will find all of the forms. I suggest, you know, if you go to request a peer tutor, unfortunately, for whatever reason, and I cannot modify this because we're moving to a different platform, so until that's done, I can't modify this page. It only provides you a PDF file, and I know this causes problems for everybody because you have to actually print it out, you know, write on it, either scan it or fax it. So I suggest going to the PTP, which is peer-to-peer forms. It's the 4th title down, and this will provide you all of the forms, okay, but it also provides an RTF file. So you can actually, or document, you can actually type in the information and then save it and then send it as an attachment, okay? So just a little FYI. But this site is, you know, gives some information about what the mission is, some other information regarding, you know, how to become a peer tutor, so on and so forth, some common questions that you might, you know, want to ask. So for instance, one particular question that I do get asked, let me see here. Can I request more than 1 peer tutor? Of course you can. If you're actually a tutor but you need a tutor, that's not a problem. It does not reflect badly on your record whatsoever. We all now and then need assistance, okay? So you can visit that. It's a very good good resource. This is the particular form, and there is no reason really to view it here, but this is the form that you would use to request a tutor, and some of the key points or key information that I particularly need. Obviously, if you've got your ID number, that is helpful. Your full name is always helpful, and at least a phone number and email is also very helpful. And of course, you know, if you have the course ID number, great. If not, please make sure you provide the course name and the term. Of course, I can look it up, but it does just make it a little bit easier, and the processing is a lot quicker. Of course, there's other information here you can check off, you know, regarding if you've tried some other resources for assistance. And then please add any other information that you have here. And again, I can't modify this yet, but like for instance, I'm always looking at, you know, okay, you need assistance, but what specific assistance do you need? I've had students that really only needed help with one particular assignment that they were struggling with. That's fine. I can provide a tutor for that, you know, for that particular request. Or maybe you're behind and you're in the January term and now you're coming to me in April and you're behind because you've only done one module. I kind of need to know that, because when I assign a tutor, the tutor kind of needs to know that the student is behind, they've been struggling, and you know they need to go back to the beginning of the course and help the student. Or the student is up to speed but has been doing poorly and is failing the course right now. I need to know that information as well. It's not embarrassing, it just helps me make sure that I marry you up with the right and proper tutor. Because one particular tutor might only have an hour or two a week to help, whereas another tutor might actually have 5, 6, 7 hours a week to help you. And you know that's important information. So the more information you can give me, the better. Okay. Oops. What happened there? I didn't like that. Okay. So I'm not going to go through this either. I mean, this is pretty, you know, clear. But the bottom line is that you, as a student that requested a tutor, you know, I ask that you always be prepared. I'm not very good with my highlighter, am I? And make sure that, you know, you make the most out of your time by being prepared. You know, that you've done the assignment or you've attempted to do the assignment, so that the tutor knows, yeah, I've attempted to do this and this is where I'm struggling. I've tried this, but that's not working, and so on and so forth. To go to the tutor and not even attempted to do the assignment is kind of a waste of both students' time, okay? The tutor is not there to do your homework. This tutor is not there, what's the word I'm looking for, to walk you through so you can have the answers. The tutor is there really to develop your skills and your knowledge. And the tutor might actually just go through an example that mimics your assignment. That's fine. But make sure you at least have attempted the assignment, okay, and that you can share where you're struggling. And of course, the last thing is that make sure, you know, if you're meeting with a tutor, you know, text, phone, whatever it might be, and if you've agreed upon a time, make sure you keep to it. Okay, if you're not, you know, then again you're wasting the tutor's time, and that becomes a little frustrating. If you can't make it, just make sure that you inform the tutor that you can't make it. Can we reschedule? And try to be flexible, by the way, too. These are students that are there to help. You know, try not to be so rigid with the time if you can, and I know everybody's busy, so, you know, just some things to keep in mind. And of course, the last thing too, I always ask for some feedback at the end. You know, hopefully I get some feedback during, you know, to find out what's going on. But if you find yourself in the middle of a you know, after you've worked with a tutor for a couple of weeks and you don't feel it's going anywhere, you need to let me know. I don't like to get feedback at the end of the term and find that it didn't work and it failed and the student is very frustrated. Contact me and I can do something about it. So any questions there? And of course, I think I indicated that, you know, how to apply. You know, you go to this site. Oh my gosh, squiggly line there. And then I look at it, and then I, oops. Okay, why are we jumping there? Okay, that one doesn't belong there. My apologies. I don't know how that slide got there. That actually refers to becoming a tutor. So any questions about requesting a tutor before I move on? No? Okay. All right, so if you want to become a tutor, you can go to that same site that we just visited and fill out the application. And what I do is I review the application. Oops, okay. I do need to sign up for an academic coach and maybe a course assistant. Due to extending the circumstances, I'm an academic warning and quite motivated to boost. Okay, all right. What I'm going to do, Tahara, I'm going to put my phone number down in my email. What I want you to do is contact me, okay? The academic coach I can definitely provide. The course assistant, I will have to look at your courses. Maybe there already is a course assistant in there. that can assist you. Otherwise, if you feel you need a peer tutor, I can look at the courses that you're currently enrolled, and we'll see if we have a peer tutor. Okay? But there's my email address, and my phone number is 2478 extension. I suggest, though, if you can, is go to that site, the CDL Peer Tutor web page, and fill out the peer tutor request. Or if you want to, just shoot me off an email real quick and tell me exactly what you're looking for, all your contact information. But it'd be easier if you can use that form. Okay? All right, so from a tutor standpoint, you know, I look at the applications. I just confirmed that you meet all the requirements. I remind you that you need to get a referral and approval from an instructor. That helps, especially with a course assistant role. I don't embed students into a course unless I have a referral from an instructor, because it just basically confirms that you do have the level and breadth of knowledge and the communication skills to work in an online, you know, course with an instructor. And of course, I just ask you to sign and acknowledge the job description, which, and we're going to go through this actually. I think that's the next slide. Again, this is where you would find that information, and I think I covered that earlier. And that's the application. Okay, we'll get to the job description in a minute. But here's the application, and the important pieces of this as well is to list, you know, the courses that you're willing to tutor in, which is in this area. Okay, and your availability, which is right here. And then if in fact you're receiving, you know, financial aid, which means you have a FAFSA form on file, which we could look to see if you're eligible for work study. And any other pertinent information that you have, you know, if you have specific skills in Excel, you're a good writer, communication skills, you're good with Maple if you've taken some of the math classes, anything else that you think you could actually coach or help another student with, if you feel that you're pretty strong in Angel. Make sure you just note that information, okay? And also, you know, up here, of course this is an outdated one. I did update it a little bit. Indicate if you want to be a course assistant, a peer tutor, and I put up academic coach, and I'm going to be putting up education planning coach as well. If you're interested in all of them, just check them all, or just the ones that you're specifically interested in. All right, I guess the job description is not coming up. We'll get to that. Okay. Again, little redundant here, but again, B+ or higher in the course that you're looking to tutor. Communication and writing skills, that's kind of looked at, you know, from the referral from your instructor, and of course there's also an online training requirement that you need to complete, which I also look at your writing skills there. You have to be in academic standing, good academic standing. So let's say, for instance, you came in, you're in good academic standing. The next term, possibly, you know, you are in good academic standing. The third term, you're not. Unfortunately, at that point, when you start to get into, you know, a good to possibly an academic warning and even dismissed, then you no longer meet the requirements for the peer tutor program. And unfortunately, at that point, I need to kind of pause your role until you actually bring that status back up to good standing. So just keep that in mind, okay? And then, like I mentioned down here, is basically, like I said, you have to maintain a good academic standing with the college. Okay, so what is involved in being a peer tutor? Well, first of all, again, you have to be willing to provide some individual support to students that need some assistance with, you know, a particular course, the content, the concepts, whatever it might be. So they need to feel pretty confident about that. You definitely, which I think is extremely important, and I mentioned this early, even for students that are looking for a tutor, is to maintain a schedule. Okay, you know, first in, you know, your first contact with a student, you need to make sure that you both agree upon a schedule and the method of communication, so there is no confusion. Usually the confusion and the frustration on everybody's part is because the schedule wasn't established, and so therefore not sure really when we're supposed to meet, when we're supposed to talk, you know, and that's when the complaints come, and no one's happy. So I actually want my tutors, regardless of your role, to make sure that you do have a schedule and you maintain it. I also ask that you make sure that you maintain accurate and up-to-date records of each tutoring session. That is for your purpose as well as my purpose. Yes, I want to know what's going on because maybe there's something I can assist you with. But the other thing too, these are notes that you can refer back to and review with your student. And feel free to actually even share those notes with your student. By the way, we covered X, Y, and Z. I'm under the understanding that you're going to do A, B, C, and that we're going to meet on this particular date at this time to cover X. Okay, so it helps everybody. And again, these reports that you send to me are brief. I'm not looking for pages and pages and pages of notes. Bullet points, just a brief idea of what's going on. And of course, I don't expect you to do more than an hour tutoring unless you want to. If you're on the phone with somebody, let's say if you just chose to use the phone as the communication method, and you're on the phone with a student with 2-3 hours, that's a very long time for both of you. So I would suggest when you do schedule that it is only scheduled for an hour or less. And if you are all prepared, it shouldn't take any more than that. And then, of course, just to make sure that you do know what the services, supports, and resources available at the college. If not, I can definitely help out with that. And the most important thing, okay, is always, 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 always maintain, strict confidentiality, period. You don't discuss anything that's going on during your tutoring sessions or anything that the student has shared with you, other than you can share it with me, which it doesn't go anywhere. So you basically are following the same code of ethics that I have to follow, and I think any human being as well. You don't want that information to be shared with anybody. Okay. Now, if you're talking to another peer tutor because you're looking for some advice, you don't want to share the student's name or any specifics that could be tied back to the that particular student. Okay. I know I spent a little time there. I'm not going to cover this because it's pretty much the same. The only difference, I guess, is the duties, the responsibilities are slightly different, and usually that varies from instructor to instructor. So one course assistant could be checking the Ask a Question section in Angel, whereas another course assistant is not doing that. They're participating in the course discussion board. And you might have a third one that might be just following up with emails and just doing tutoring only. So it all depends on the instructor's needs, requirements, expectations, so on and so forth. Okay. Same thing with an academic coach. The only difference here, again, that's I think maybe even more important, is the schedule, because students that are coming that are new do need that consistency, do need to somehow be connected, especially new students. And students that have been reinstated or an academic warning, they have a higher level of stress as well. And sometimes the reason why they were an academic warning, something happened and they were dismissed, and so they come back because they want to succeed. So they might get buried under the same issues. Let's just say it was time management, and now they're behind again because they can't really manage their time, or things just kind of get in the way. It's important that the academic coach is consistently weekly, even if the student is not contacting them. Hi, I'm here. How's everything going? Blah 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 blah. Okay. So, and I think I make a point down here. Communicate regularly. Here, you're not going to be contacting the instructor. The instructor would be me, okay, in the Office of Academic Support regarding difficult or unresponsive students. At one point, we had employees doing this, and that's why the instructor is there. So you will not have any information regarding the instructor. You'll know who it is, but you're not going to be contacting the instructor. Okay, and this is kind of a sample of a progress report. And as you can see, it's very brief. In session X happened on this day. For this period we covered this, and the next session is going to focus on X. Okay, so again, very, very simple, very brief. And this is kind of a report for a course assistant as well. Work study opportunities. I'm just going to slide through this real quick because I want to answer any questions. Work study opportunities, if in fact you want to become a tutor, it is available. Your FAFSA form will be reviewed. The period for work study always goes from June to June. So if you were to come on board now, it's January. Let's say it's February because we're almost through January. So you would work from February, March, April, May, and June, and then be requalified again mid-June for the following year. All right. So if you don't qualify this particular period, you might qualify for the next period if something has changed. And of course, you're required to submit those timesheets every 2 weeks along with a progress report. Go right ahead, Angie. And I'll just wait before I go on here. Oh, okay. Oh, Angie, how are you? So Angie is a course assistant for, oh, please, I don't want to make sure I get this wrong. Is it women images? Correct, Angie? It's not myth. Correct. Yes, thank you. Images in Western civilization. Great. How is it going, Angie? So just to give you a little background, Angie, Images of Women, thank you. Angie was referred to me by her former instructor of Images of Women in Western Civilization. And she's actually working with that instructor in that particular section. Yes, Dr. Weinbaum. And they work very closely together and work with the students. So I'm glad you joined us. Thank you, Angie. I don't know, Angie, if you wanted to make any other comments or any comments regarding your experience. That would be great. I have no problem with that. Okay, so Angie's just typing, so we'll just wait a moment. And if anybody else has any questions, feel free. Or any comments. There you go. So Angie's role in this particular course is, because this course has been also redesigned, it's just to make some of the concepts in the course a little easier, yes, and getting students to join in the discussions, which sometimes can be very intimidating for new students, especially because, where do you go? Oh my gosh, I'm going to put something down and, someone's not going to like it, or, I'm not putting down accurate information. So it can be, like I said, a little intimidating. However, with a course assistant, hopefully, the ice is broken and they can, in Angie's case, can show students, okay, no, we're going to have this discussion and fine, let's talk about this, let's move this along, what about this and what about this? The instructor also does do that, okay? So Angie's not taking the place of the instructor because I know Dr. Weinbaum is also very active in the discussions as well. So, but it gives a different perspective. Yes, and they also ask her questions as well. And there's always a fine line too. Angie can answer certain questions like, where do I find this? But Angie can't answer any questions. I don't like my grade. Can this be changed? Or can you look at my paper and let me know what kind of grade you think I'm going to get? Angie can't do that. I need an extension on this assignment. Angie can't do that. Correct. That is the instructor's role. Correct. And Angie, by the way, is new to this particular role. Okay, so Tahara. Okay, so exactly. As our faces cannot be seen when speaking, others in discussion cannot see if we are being lighthearted or serious. That is correct. And yes, if something is written, it needs to be factually referenced. You make a very good point, Tahara. The one thing about discussions is you got to be very careful because tone does come across, believe it or not, in your writing. And so it's very important that you pay attention to how you write. I think some students feel that, oh, it's only discussion, I'm going to type like I do when I'm texting my friends. No, you really, you're graded, on how also it's presented. Are you capitalizing? Are you using, grammar correctly? Are you punctuating this and that? Are you spelling correctly? How did you answer, somebody else's question or inquiry? Were you defensive in answering that? So you really have to be careful and how, one, you put something out there, and two, how you respond. And so, if you're unclear, correct, Angie, if you're unclear and you're not sure, how your writings come across, maybe have somebody read it before you actually post it. Yes, you have to be very respectful because, again, it's an environment that maybe many of us are not used to, having this type of discussion, because you really can't see somebody's body language. You can't really pick up the inflection in their voice. I've noticed in some discussions people are typing and they put a smiley face, and I understand what that means, meaning, I'm not being sarcastic, I'm not that. But on the other hand, if in fact the sentence, preceding the smiley face appears to be that way, that gets kind of tricky. So again, always try to be respectful. Everybody's going to have a different opinion, a different approach. Read the facts a little bit differently, and have different references as well. Okay. And the other thing, anything you want to add to that, Angie, regarding the discussions? I know Angie's typing, so we'll just wait a moment. So, in some cases, this is where an academic coach can assist. This is where a tutor can assist, if you think you're struggling even there, because maybe you're not really clearly understanding some of the content in the course, and maybe we can kind of tighten that up. Okay, so Angie said, actually, I participate like any other student. Great. And so she's providing her own opinion, and so the students hopefully know that she is a course assistant and following, hopefully, her lead in the sense of how she's posting the format, if in fact she's using references to cite, she's citing her references, which forms her opinion, which, by the way, is very important. A lot of students don't feel it's necessary to cite in discussion, when in fact, Angie, it's very important, isn't it? And the reason why I bring that up is because I'm going to go through, which actually is a good segue into my resources. And I even didn't put that down either. Oh, shame on me. I didn't put the library down. And we're going to go through some of this. So why don't I bring this up? So because really online, it is very writing intensive, you really should make sure that you are prepared. Writing Center. Okay, so here is, you got on-site tutoring, online tutoring, you got some workshops and events, submitting a paper, and writing resources. So if you think you're really struggling with writing, this is a place to go to. And the writing resources, let me just make sure that it shows. You've got lots of resources that you can go to review, okay? And you can even test your knowledge and practice some of the writing exercises. And of course, punctuation, grammar. We all need some brushing up on this. I know that I always do. So this is a great place to go to. Smart Thinking, if you have not, as a matter of fact, let me go to the Learning Support tab and I can show you where you can find that. Okay, if you're not familiar with this particular page, I definitely suggest that when you go to My ESC, okay, it is the green tab that says Learning Support. Under the Learning Support tab, all right, it says in the first box to the left, Get Tutoring and Help. All right, Smart Thinking Online Tutoring Service is the second bullet. It is a free online service, okay, where you can submit your papers and you receive feedback within 24 hours. They don't edit your papers. They are going to provide, like I say, comments in regards to the structure of your paper, that maybe this needs to be stronger, you need to develop this a little bit more, your thesis statement is a little weak, what are you trying to say, that type of stuff. So I think that's a great place to start, especially from a writing standpoint. Submit that and see what you get, and then try to develop that. If in fact you're still struggling with that, let's just say, for instance, citing is something that you're not very good at, okay? I mentioned when you participate in the discussions and you are stating something, okay, that formed your opinion, but yet you didn't cite your resource, that's not a good thing. You need to cite your resources. If you're unclear how to cite your resources or even what that means, I suggest going here and learn about academic integrity and avoiding plagiarism. Okay, and it kind of goes through, you know, a little bit about what does that mean, okay, and why it's important to actually cite your references. If you're not even sure how to cite your references, okay, usually within the course syllabus, course information tab, it will tell you what specific format the teacher or the instructor is asking you to do it in, APA, Chicago, MLA, or they don't care, okay? But you need to make sure that you know what that format is. If you're not even sure how to use MLA, you know, or Chicago, if I'm scrolling through here, I went to the library, and library has these workshops again, which are free. They're 6:30 to 8 o'clock at night, Eastern Standard Time. Okay, they're online, and let me see here, on February 6th, citing your resources, okay, is going to be available. I suggest that everybody here that is attending, you know, sign up for that and go through that workshop. I would also even suggest tomorrow night, if you have nothing going on, sign yourself into the Introduction to Searching, especially if you're searching our online library. You know, there's a lot of information out there. How do you get the information that you really truly need and not all of this information? I also suggest that you attend that particular one. And of course, there's another one next week, which is working with books and ebooks. You know, talks about really how to use your books. You don't necessarily have to read your books from one page to the next. So I suggest doing that. I got out of that. I didn't want to get out of that because I wanted to point something else out. I didn't cover something else either, which I will in a minute, about if you can't find a tutor, what happens. Empire State College, EDU. Okay, so I mentioned the SMART thinking. If math is also an area that you're struggling with, there's lots of resources that are available on this page. There's the CDL Peer Tutoring Service, which is going to bring you to that web page I showed you. Again, there's your library information to the right-hand side. I really suggest that you become very familiar with the library. Also, if you're not aware, the library does have live chats. So if you're into the library, can't see here. Don't call me a liar here. Come on, come on. It's not here. Ask a librarian. Okay. The chat is offline, so they must be taking lunch. But if you're into the library and you're really struggling with something, you can go right there and ask the librarian. There's somebody there that can answer your question right there live. So make sure you become familiar with that. And of course, you know, under the academic support and study skills, you have other resources about academic reading, critical thinking, you know, stress management, time management. And by the way, we have a time management workshop coming up soon. If you go to, I'm going a little fast here, but if you look at the second bullet under academic support and study skills, it says study skill workshops. This lists every workshop that's available at every center, and some of them are online, by the way, so feel free, if in fact you want to take something online, not at CDL, you can do that. If you're close to one of the centers, feel free to attend one of those as well, but you have to register. But if you go down to the bottom where it says Center for Distance Learning, here are all the workshops. Okay, so you're attending today's CDL peer tutoring. I also listed some of the library workshops as well for January. February 1st, we have Being an Effective Online Learner. So if you're new to the college, or you know, if you know, you're not really a strong online learner, you've been here, you know, we give you some tips, you know, some strategies. And there's a making time in your life. Okay, that's the time management. We're doing that. Oh, we got a double. I have to look at that. Looks like we've got a double session there that day. But go to this calendar to see what might be available. It's suggested. Okay. Let's see what else. I think that's it on that page. And the other site that I find a great resource is Khan Academy. And I'm just going to briefly go through this. I suggest that you all just kind of visit it and look at some of the tutorials or the videos that are available. It's free. Of course, there are some obviously, some resources here that are not free, but I'm not suggesting that you by no means pay for anything here. But if you notice, you've got algebra. There's lots of, I don't know, it's loading slow today. But let's say under math, you got arithmetic, you got developmental math 1 and 2, you've got algebra, you've got stats, geometry, calc, so on and so forth. And under science, you got chemistry, biology, physics, computer science. Under humanities and others, you've got some history, you've got macroeconomics, finance, so on and so forth. So the tutorials, or the videos, I should say, are like 2 to 3 minutes long. They're very basic, but they do their job. So I would visit all of these sites that I'm showing here on my PowerPoint. Of course, Angel, your CDL Connects for Academic Coaches, is also a resource for the coaches. So if you're a coach or a tutor, there's a space for you, okay, once you get signed up, okay, with additional resources. And then, of course, I'm a resource. You can always call me, email me. Craig Lamb, who is the director of this office, is also always available. And then there's just another, we have another group of individuals that support this office, and you can email at cdlacademic.support@empirestatecollege.edu, and someone will also get back to you if you're looking for some assistance. Okay. I know that's a lot of information. And any other questions at all? Anything that I can answer that might not be related to this that you're struggling with, I can try to answer? If in fact you're not looking for a tutor, you're not quite sure? This is a very quiet group. Is everybody there? Go right ahead, Tara. Wanda, go right ahead. So Tahara, which class is that? Oh, great, Wanda, thank you. It is ADR in the workplace. ADR in the workplace. I don't know which course that is, Tahara. I'll have to look at that. Definitely contact me. I'll be back at my office after this session. I have a meeting. I'll be back to my desk at a little after 2 o'clock. Why don't you give me a call and let's talk about what we can do to assist you there. Alternative dispute resolution in the workplace. Okay. I'm not familiar with that one, believe it or not. That must be relatively new. Yeah, let's look and see where, where we can give you some assistance, I've done some of the workplace stuff. I have an idea what that course is about, so maybe I can give you a different perspective. I'll try to help you out. Okay? You're welcome. I guess, okay. I have the book and I'm reading ahead in the assignments. Thank you so much. Good. Tahara, here's just maybe one tip. When you have an assignment, read the assignment first, then go to the book. And in some cases, sometimes I actually have read assignments, the first assignment, go to the back of the book and look to see what's related to that assignment, and then go to those chapters. Sometimes that might help. The other thing, too, is if you're not quite sure about the assignment, something is a little unclear, I might Google it. I'm not saying I use the information that comes from Google, but sometimes just the way an assignment is framed, or possibly the concept or the terminology might not be clear, maybe by just Googling or even getting another book in the library will sometimes clarify it. And when in doubt, always contact your instructor if you are unclear, or even maybe run it by some of the students in the course. That's fine to do, by the way. So don't be afraid to do that. Our tutors limited to one course area. I have a BA in accounting and I am completing a BS in mathematics. Could I tutor in both areas, or could I be limited to only one? No, you could, and you could tutor in both areas. And it just depends on the courses that you're willing to tutor. If you say, you know, these are the, I mean, basically you're in control of what courses you're able to tutor another student. So if you want to do a handful of these math and you want to do a handful of these in accounting, great. I can tell you right now, I so need accounting and math tutors. I always do, because students, that's an area that students do struggle with. It's just traditionally they're just difficult classes, and then put them online, I think it just adds another element. So whatever you're comfortable with, okay, and it could be multiple, again, multiple courses in different areas. So hopefully that answers your question. You're welcome. Tahar, yes, it's okay to admit that you're over your head. And so if you are recognizing that and seeking the help early on, you know, hopefully we can do something for you. It might be, you know, that maybe you need to not take this course and maybe do it at another time. I don't know how many courses you're taking right now. I don't know if you've talked to your mentor about this, you know, but maybe, you know, if you don't need this particular course, my guess is you probably do, because it seems like it's very specific. You know, let's look at that. But no, there's no problem saying you're over your head. I'd rather have you admit that now than at the end of the term. So I guess that's my point here too today, is that if in fact you, or you see other students in your course struggling, let them know that there is some help and these are the resources, because there's too many times, I can't tell you that I have students that contact me, you know, a month before the term ends or a couple weeks before the term ends. They've only finished, you know, 40% of the course. They've been struggling all along and haven't, you know, sought any assistance whatsoever. It's kind of hard for me to help. I can provide a tutor, but it's almost in some cases impossible to get somebody through, you know, if there's 10 modules, 6 modules within, you know, 4 weeks. So, Angie says, I've been emailing the students offering my help at any time they need it. That's great, okay, because at least, you know, you're there. If they don't reach out and take that assistance, you know, what are you going to do? You know, we can only provide, you know, those resources. If you're not going to take advantage of it, you know, it's unfortunate that, you know, if you do poorly in the class, you know, it could be for certain reasons, you know, I mean, it happens. But just know that you do have the resources there. Right, exactly, enhanced their learning. Very nice, Angie. You know, the whole purpose of all these programs is to make sure that there is support so that you can succeed, okay, in completing those courses, so that you don't find yourself struggling at the end of the term going, oh my gosh, I'm going to fail this course. Oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do. Okay? So any other questions? Is everybody clear about requesting a tutor? Is everybody clear about becoming a tutor? If so, you know, the green check mark for yes, X for no. Great, thank you, Wanda, Anna, thank you. All right, good. The other thing I'm going to say too about the hours, oh, and let me just say one other thing too. If you're not eligible for work study, if you want to be a tutor, you can volunteer your time. All right, that's not a problem at all. You know, it looks good on the resume, and depending on how your tutoring performance was, I have written letters of references, and I have been a reference for prior students, prior tutors, when they're seeking a job or they're seeking, you know, a teaching job, whatever it might be. So, you know, keep that in mind. The other thing too is, you know, if you only have an hour a week that you can provide assistance, that's fine too. You know, so, you know, when I, you know, assign you a student, I don't assign them and say you're taking this student. I actually say, hey, are you available? And you have to respond back to say, yes, I am available, but I only can do it for an hour a week. That's okay. I'll let the student know, and you make sure that the student knows too. So, okay, so we're out of time. If there's no other questions or any comments, I'm going to end the session today. I did put all my information you know, up on this slide. Feel free to contact me, phone or email, not a problem. Otherwise, look for an email from Jessica with the recorded link, as well as this PowerPoint presentation. And I wish everybody good luck, and hopefully I see you in some other sessions. Please make sure you go to the library workshops if you can do it. Take advantage of these workshops. They're a great resource. They have lots of information, and you're going to make some connections there too as well with the person that's doing the presentation as well as some other students. Okay, so I thank you. I'm going to sign off. If you have any other questions, like I said, let me know, okay, via email or phone. You're welcome, Tahara.